I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the XPro RR, what it is and what it does. And now that I've put 80 hours on the XPro and 300 hours on the Xtrainer, here's some of the things that I noticed between the bikes and what I would do differently if I had to do it all over again. So first and foremost, I am a very short rider. I'm only at 5'1", 5'2". I'm in the middle in there somewhere. And the Xtrainer is a lot smaller. It's got a shorter frame. The seat height's a little bit lower. It's still a little tall though. So I wish it could be a little shorter, but it's difficult to find something with full-size wheels to be able to roll through the garbage that we have to roll through in a smaller frame with a full-sized motor. It's a tough combination to come up with, and the Xtrainer is the closest thing that I've been able to find on the market that fits that need. And it's got a really great motor like those Austrian bikes. It has the nice, smooth, linear power, but it's still really tamed, which is great, especially if you're just getting into hard enduro. It's almost kind of hard to lose traction in a couple of different ways, but it still has the power there, you just gotta work for it. So yes, the Xtrainer is in a smaller frame, and the motor might not be quite as powerful as the other 300s that the Beta line offers, but it has a very similar feel to those Austrian bikes in the way that the power operates. It's very smooth and linear and friendly. It's honestly kind of hard to break traction, but the power is still there if you need it. It's just not quite as snappy as what we associate with two strokes or full-size 300s. And I've seen plenty of pros hop on my bike and they can do just about the same stuff that they do on their full-size bike. So it's a fully capable bike. It's just more fitting if you're a little smaller and more lightweight like me. So a lot of people have been asking me, is the XPro really just a more powerful Xtrainer? And the answer is kind of like sort of, maybe kind of not really. The XPro does have a bigger frame. It's the RR frame, so it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit heavier. The motors are pretty similar. I think it's a great bike. Have I had a lot of fun on the XPro? Hell yeah. Like, it's a phenomenal bike. It's amazing if you want to go do some faster desert riding or some woods riding. It's a phenomenal bike. There's just something about the motor. It's just a little bit more powerful, a little more intuitive, but honestly, I feel like I could have done all of the same things on the Xtrainer with just a couple of modifications. But I'm gonna make a whole different video on all of the modifications that we've done to the Xtrainer to make the Xtrainer just awesome. Now keep in mind, this is for me as a short rider. There are some people out there who aren't very short that do want a smaller bike, and that's where I think the XPro could really shine. And the motor is quite tame. It's not nearly as aggressive as the full-size 300s and the race editions, but there are some things that you can still do to the motor to open it up as you get more comfortable. I think the suspension is probably the biggest reason that you would want to go with the XPro over the Xtrainer, especially if you're not a smaller rider. If you're kind of a normal-sized person, you're going to be hammering through trails or whoops or some other really fast-paced riding stuff. The XPro comes with bigger diameter forks, so it holds up really nicely in those faster riding sections, but there are some suspension upgrades that you can do for pretty cheap on the Xtrainer as well, which we'll talk about in next week's video.
But for people that are really just beginners getting in, just the Xtrainer suspension alone on its own, if you're just doing light trails like a lot of people might be that get this bike,
yeah,
it's plenty fine, especially if you're a smaller person.
Yeah, I tend to use the common rule of, like, when people ask me about the suspension for the Xtrainer, my rule of thumb for them is if you're on the top end of third gear frequently when you're whipping through the trails, you might want to upgrade the internals, revalve it or reshim it or something, but you can still run the stock just fine.
Depends on how heavy you are, right?
Yeah, it does. I would say if you're like 150 pounds or lighter, you can run stock Xtrainer suspension just fine. I only blow out the suspension on the Xtrainer when I hit the turn track and hit whoops at 5th gear. That's when I blow out the suspension on the Xtrainer. It's almost a guaranteed seal replacement. And even then it's just seals, you know? Why
would you, for yourself, choose the Xtrainer? And how good is it right off the bat when you first buy it? Like, for what you do?
It's extremely capable. For hard enduro and for trial skills, the Xtrainer stock was everything that I ever needed and more. Like, this was the bike that I learned all of my technical skills on. It's a thing that I practiced on in the backyard, and I didn't touch the suspension for a year. And it was great. And I was trail riding in the woods in Minnesota. I was hitting rocks. I was doing everything that I ever could have possibly wanted on a stock Xtrainer. It was only after a year and a half that I started adding potential power upgrades and adding suspension upgrades. Right off the, I didn't even really need to do them. Honestly, I thought it was perfect for trying to learn technical skills. And even now, as somebody who wants to ride harder stuff, I still think the Xtrainer is the bike that I want to go with. So there you have it. For me, the Xtrainer is everything that I want and need, with a few modifications, which I'll bring up in next week's video. But honestly, the Xtrainer is the bike that I would go with if I did it all over again. I would just get another Xtrainer.